Hello everyone, so another video update from Check the Evidence, or whatever name you care to give to me. Um, so firstly on the list, I got a call from Richard today, Richard D. Hall, and he was on the train back to Wales, and he said basically the pre-trial went very well, and the judge has reserved judgment on the judgment that the Hibberts wanted to prevent Richard from presenting evidence in the full trial. So today's hearing wasn't the full trial against Richard, but it was the attempt, by the Hibberts to prevent Richard from presenting Manchester evidence in the real trial, which hasn't yet taken place. And the judge basically said, well, he's going to reserve judgment on the case, and Richard said, as I've posted on Facebook here, that he was able to make all the points he needed to make, and the judge listened and he asked pertinent questions, and the Hibberts were apparently present, and so he noted the reaction in the court. Richard said that he was very pleased that 60 people showed up in support of him, but there was only space for 30 people in the courtroom because of health and safety concerns, so the rest had to leave. He asked them politely to leave, though they didn't want to, because he said, they wanted to observe the justice process and all of that. But Richard said, well, it'd be easier if you just leave because we don't want any trouble, kind of thing, And but this, sent a message to the judge about the level of concern that there would be over this case. A court transcript apparently will be made available. This goes into the court system, I think. You have to pay for one. And so that will come out at some point. I think Richard will probably make a posting about this at some point as much as he can. He did say that it was okay to tell you what I've told you. So he also told me that there is a UK column journalist there, and he was doing an article or an interview, did an interview with Richard. He can't remember the guy's name, but that should appear on UK column tomorrow, which will be the 31st of January. So you can watch out for that, and I may add a link to the description if that of this video if that comes out. But so Richard isn't sort of out of the woods yet, and indeed the judge has reserved judgment, so he hasn't said to the Hibberts that Richard can present evidence in the Hibberts case, and he hasn't said that he can't. So we've still got to wait for that verdict. But this is going to put the judge in a bit of a fix, really. So we'll have to see what happens. I suggested to Richard, but it's purely speculation on my case, on my part, that the Hibberts might end up just withdrawing their claims against Richard. And of course, the thing is that the media won't publicise this. This will just fade away. Nobody will hear about it. So really, the only people that will know any different are the judge, a few people in the court, maybe, I don't know, maybe there are another 30 people in the court apart from Richard's supporters. And the judge will probably receive some order not to talk about the case or something. And the judge will know the details of the Manchester case, and nobody else will. The media won't talk about it. They may, produce some quiet story that the Hibberts withdraw their claim, and that will be that. The only people that will hear about this will be those that watch Richard's videos and stuff and subscribe to his email list, which is still a relatively small number of people. So that, to me, at this point, is the most likely outcome. I don't think we're going to see the whole justice system collapse, and the UK government, brought to account for all of this or anything like that, which of course is what should happen. But realistically, I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that what's going to happen, this will just kind of fade away. But I could be completely wrong. I hope I am wrong on this, and Richard, is vindicated publicly and widely over the case and the fakery and the fraud that's been involved in it. But I don't think the media will permit that to happen because, of course, they're just as complicit as the intelligence services and all of that. So that's, I suppose, all I can really say on that for the moment. You can wait for more from Richard. Obviously, subscribe to his list if you haven't already. A lot of people ask me for information about Richard, and I don't really have much other than what he's going to put on his website or anything really. So it's always best you look there first, subscribe to his list, and he'll post stuff when he's able. So moving on then, I received a message yesterday from a friend, and Mena, and she said that she occasionally sort of tracks stories about UFOs, and she does a search for this. And of course, you can set up Google alerts for such things if you want. And she, I think, this time did a search in news stories for UAPs, this rebranded UFO term. And you can see we've got all these news stories from a couple of days ago, 2 weeks ago, and she highlighted this one. It only takes one to prove that this is real. And what if we've been lied to about UFOs and all of this? So we know all of this claptrap. They could have broken this story years and years ago, 20 years ago, with a disclosure project. They covered it up. Again, as with Manchester, the media is fully complicit and fully engaged in the cover-up because of the powerful interests that control them. And they're not going to talk about the weaponization. They're not going to talk about any of that. Now, if I just pause for a second, they're putting in pictures of David Grush, who says that, he knows about various things people have told him. But of course, that's just his stories are all secondhand. He has no direct knowledge of incidents, just what people have told him. So he's a handy person for them to sort of talk about in the way that they're talking about him and government knowledge and all of that. They're covering all this stuff up. Most of the UFO movement are just, they're saying, oh, it's a real breakthrough. This is the sort of thing they talk about. It's not a breakthrough. It's a movement. It's another spin in the spinning wheel of this. But they're not going to tell you about the connection to 9/11. They're not going to report about Science Applications International Corporation. So, I've written about this at length. I've talked about this at length. For people that are new to this video and stuff and haven't really, looked at this from my perspective, they can find my perspective in this article from, well, it's getting on for 3 years old. So this latest round has been going on really for 3 years now, as I would see it. It's the latest. The previous article, previous round really was to do with this To the Stars Academy thing. If you go back 4 and 5 years, that's all in my knowledge book as well. And Richard Hall has looked at that Louis Elizondo stuff. He's still bubbling away in the media in various places. Richard's done a statement analysis of him, and he's telling lies basically. This Louis Elizondo, which he became a darling of the UFO movement as well for a period of time. And then Mark McCandlish, who he talked about the anti-gravity craft. He ends up dead. This was about 2 or 3 years ago now. So yeah, in fact it was when I wrote this article. So he's been dead nearly 3 years. You can read up on him if you're not familiar with his story. So I'm not going to go over that all again here. So thank you to Mena for keeping an eye on the stories there. They are going to try this fake alien invasion meme. Once the Ukraine things run out of gas and the Israel, Gaza, Palestine people have just got fed up of that, and we go around that whole issue again, which has been recurring in the media for years. And then we've got this disease X going round. They're just spinning all these plates, to keep people in a state of fear. And all of this. It's the same old game, and many of us are wise to it now. Still not enough people are wise to it, so, there you are. So moving on again then, I became interested in this MH370 recently again, and, so that's, somebody posted on my MH370 video update a video that I've been trying to remember. And I did watch this video well, in fact, you can see this video is 5 years ago. It's called Under the Radar. And I have to re-watch this because I can't remember the exact story, but it did offer some insight into why whatever was done to MH370 was done. And it's to do with Boyd Anderson, who was a hockey star. And I think he got involved in some business deals. And you can read all of this blurb if you want. Watch the video It's quite an interesting video, and I think it's to do with theft of gold or something. But you can watch that video. I was looking for this, and I think it is a plausible narrative that's presented here. So have a look and see what you think of that. Um, and it's quite a good video, and you can see it's not got that many views in 5 years. 52,800 views, not a lot of views. Um, and so moving on again, then I didn't want to just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I need to re-watch it before I can make further comments about it. But I do remember it being quite a plausible narrative, as I say. But moving on again, another contact sent me this video, Peregrine Mission 1, Why Can't Americans Repeat the Moon Landing in Half a Century? And this appears to be from some Russian program, TBU or something. Now, I don't know whether this is just a well-funded YouTube channel or whether it's actually a broadcast program, but it's basically some Russian figures questioning the moon landings, and there's one interesting bit where they show um, some exhibition where they're talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and how some guy has basically got AI to analyze the Apollo moon photographs and see if they are filmed in a studio or subject of fakery, and the AI says that they are almost certainly the result of fakery, and this apparently was shown to Putin. Now, of course, Putin to me is just another player. He's not going to come around and say, well, we know the Apollo missions were faked. He probably already knows that they were faked. I mean, the Russians faked the Gagarin mission, so they'd have to admit that. Putin's not going to do that. He's just another player for people who think he's going to be some type of savior. He's got access to Amazon just like everybody else. He could buy Dr. Judy Wood's book and hold it up in front of the cameras of the world. He hasn't done that. He's had however many years to do that now. He hasn't done it, just like Trump didn't. So, that's my gold standard, really. So it's an interesting sort of data point, but, you can make of it what you will. And then finally, for this video update, also on the Apollo update thing, now back in 2019, when we had the 60th anniversary of the supposed moon landing, I created this video which I call Top of the Ops. You can watch this if you want. It's like 8 minutes. It's kind of a comedy video featuring Stephen Hawking's voice, or a version of it. And anyway, I just thought I'd read this out for a bit of light relief, because I'd put in this chart rundown in this video of all these songs from like Top of the Pops, it's Top of the Ops instead, that were to do with moon fakery. I think the favourite song title that I came up with was Trick It to the Moon by the Electric Lights Orchestra. Now, somebody has posted in the comments recently and given me a few new songs that can go in the chart rundown. So Roxy Music, for anyone knows about Roxy, Slave to Fraud, Same Old Scene, Devon Island Plain, Moonbert and Scullyvan, Little Moons from the Studio Are We, The Faker Do. I don't quite get that one, maybe somebody else does. This one's quite a good one. David Hasselhoek's Rhinestone Astronaut, Glue Survivor, Jumping My Lem, Flying on the Wings of Deceitfulness. Liza Moonelli, NASA is a Cabaret, Money Makes the World Go Round, Mine Hair, featuring Werner von Braun as Joel Grey's Master of Ceremonies. So I thought that was pretty good as well. So there's a whole seam of humour to be exploited there, I think, to be mined there, I should say. Yeah, again, make of that what you will, and I think I'll leave you with those thoughts for now, and wish you well, and thanks for watching, and take care.